In a quiet industrial town where the streets were always covered in a thin layer of dust, there lived a man named Thomas. Thomas was 32 years old, but sometimes he felt much older. Every night at exactly 8 o'clock, he walked through the metal gates of a large warehouse where he worked as a security guard. The job was simple but exhausting. He spent long hours walking around dark buildings, checking locks, and watching security cameras while the rest of the town slept. When the sun finally began to rise, Thomas's shift ended. At 6 in the morning, while other people were waking up to start their day, Thomas slowly walked back to his small apartment. The apartment was tiny. There was a thin mattress on the floor, an old fan that barely worked, and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. His shoes were worn out. His clothes were old. His salary was just enough to survive. But the hardest thing for Thomas was not being poor. It was the feeling that his life was going nowhere. Every morning as he walked home, he passed houses where families were eating breakfast together. Children were putting on school uniforms. Men in clean shirts were getting ready to go to their offices. Thomas would look through those windows for a moment and quietly wonder, will my life always stay like this? He had tried to change his situation many times. He had applied for better jobs, but most companies wanted college degrees or special skills he didn't have. Thomas had only finished high school. Every door he knocked on seemed to close in front of him. Sometimes he thought about learning new skills, but after working all night, he was always too tired to do anything except sleep. So his life stayed the same. Night shift, sleep, wake up, work again. The days slowly turned into months, and the months turned into years. Far away in a small countryside village lived Thomas's mother. She was getting older now, but every week she called him on the phone. "Thomas," she would say softly, "are things getting better for you?" Thomas always tried to sound cheerful. "Soon, Mama. I'm working on it." But deep inside, he knew he wasn't working on anything. He was simply surviving. One cold morning in November, something unexpected happened. Just as Thomas finished his night shift and stepped outside the warehouse, his phone rang. It was his younger sister. Her voice was shaking. "Thomas, you need to come home. Mama collapsed. She's in the clinic." For a moment, Thomas felt the world stop. Within an hour, he was on a crowded bus heading toward his village. The journey took 3 long hours. When he finally arrived at the small clinic, he saw his mother lying in a bed near the window. She looked weak, but she was awake. The doctor explained that she had fainted because of exhaustion and stress. She needed rest, better food and medicine, things that cost money, money Thomas didn't really have. When the doctor left the room, his mother gently held his hand. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Thomas, I'm getting old." He tried to smile. "Don't say that, Mama." But she continued, "I don't want to leave this world worrying about you. Please, don't waste your life the way I did. Find a better way." Thomas couldn't say anything. He simply nodded. Later that morning, he stepped outside the clinic to clear his mind. It was just before sunrise. The sky was slowly turning orange, and the village was quiet. A few farmers were already walking toward their fields. Thomas stood there in the cold air, thinking about his life. For years he had worked hard, but somehow nothing had changed. And for the first time, he asked himself a serious question. Maybe hard work isn't enough. On the bus ride back to town, something unusual caught his attention. A well-dressed man in his 50s sat across from him. He looked calm and focused as he read a book. Thomas recognized him. The man was Mr. Chun, a successful businessman who owned several shops in the town. What surprised Thomas most was the time. It was only 6 in the morning. Curious, Thomas gathered the courage to speak. "Excuse me, sir, why are you traveling this early?" Mr. Chun closed his book and smiled. "Because I wake up at 4:30 every morning." Thomas looked confused. "Why?" Mr. Chun leaned back in his seat. "The early morning hours are the most powerful hours of the day," he said calmly. "While the world is still quiet, your mind is clear. That is when you can build your future." Thomas listened carefully. "For many years," Mr. Chun continued, "I used those early hours to learn new skills, read books, and plan my life. Those small daily habits changed everything for me." The bus slowed down near Thomas's stop. Before leaving, Mr. Chun took a small card from his pocket and handed it to him. "If you are serious about changing your life," he said, "call me." Thomas looked at the card as he stepped off the bus. For the first time in years, he felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. That evening, Thomas made a decision. He called Mr. Chun. The next day they met in a small cafe. Mr. Chun explained a simple system. "Wake up at 5 in the morning," he said. "From 5 to 6, learn a skill that can improve your future. From 6 to 7, strengthen your body and plan your day." Thomas wrote everything down. "But remember," Mr. Chun added seriously, "discipline is the key. The first weeks will be difficult. Most people quit." Thomas looked determined. "I won't quit." The next morning, his alarm rang at 5 o'clock. His body felt heavy. His mind begged him to sleep longer, but then he remembered his mother's tired face in the hospital. Slowly, he got out of bed. That morning, he opened his phone and started watching free lessons about Excel and accounting. At 6 o'clock, he went outside and walked around the quiet streets. The first week was extremely hard. The second week was still painful. But something strange happened around the 20th day. Waking up early started to feel normal. His mind became sharper. His body felt stronger. Day by day he kept learning. After 2 months, Thomas had completed several online courses in accounting. Then one evening at work, he created a simple spreadsheet to organize the warehouse inventory. When he showed it to his supervisor, the man was surprised. "Thomas, where did you learn this?" Thomas smiled. "I wake up early." A few weeks later, the warehouse manager called him into the office. They needed someone to help in the accounting department, someone who understood both numbers and the warehouse system. The job came with a daytime schedule and double his salary. Oh, Thomas could hardly believe it. 3 months earlier, he had been a tired night guard with no direction. Now his life was changing. That evening, he called Mr. Chun. "I did it," Thomas said with excitement. Mr. Chun laughed softly. "No," he replied. "You started." 1 year later, Thomas had become one of the company's most trusted employees. He moved his mother to the town so she could receive proper medical care. And every morning at 5 o'clock, his alarm still rang. Not because he had to, but because those quiet early hours had become the foundation of his new life. And Thomas knew something important now. Success doesn't arrive in one big moment. It grows slowly, through small decisions repeated every single day.